So you're thinking about making the move out of Ohio and coming to the fine state of Michigan. Well, in this video, I'm going to give you more than enough reasons to do just that. And I promise you, it's better than just drinking Vernors and having Detroit-style pizzas. Be sure to stick around to the end to hear about the biggest reason to make the move right this second, or today, or maybe even tomorrow. Let's get to it. What's going on, everyone? Andrew McManaman here with Living in Michigan, your all-time favorite Michigan realtor, and I'm coming at you with this video because I have been getting a lot of people from Ohio asking me questions about moving to Michigan. So here you go. And to answer your first question, no, we don't need registration for our kayaks. Ohio does. Oh, and before we get too far, don't forget to do your thing below if you get some value along the way. The U.S. Census Bureau threw out some data over the last couple years touching on which state most people move from before finding a new home in Michigan. And in 2019, 12,261 people moved from Ohio to Michigan. The question that many people may be wondering is, why? They are similar in a lot of ways, but different enough to make a difference.
Dude, I don't get it.
In the eyes of Thrillist.com, it's a big difference though, ranking Michigan the #1 state in the United States and Ohio number 48. I thought maybe the author was a Michigan editor, but he's actually a Chicago editor, so that's a little interesting to see. Believe it or not, when people from Texas, California, or even some of the nearby states, Indiana and Wisconsin, consider making the move out of state to somewhere north, Michigan and Ohio are often spoken of together in conversation. I'm not saying everyone considers the two, but it's frequent enough for me to make this video, of course. It's like throwing a metaphorical dart at the northern part of the US dartboard and seeing if it sticks. Oh, it's not like that? Okay then. One of the biggest and most notable reasons to make the move from Ohio to Michigan is the unbeatable scenery. Since the two states share similar climates and are both on the top 10 list for the most populated states in the US, according to the World Population Review, and even share a similar cost of living, it made sense to touch on scenery. Michigan is surrounded by nature and breathtaking coastlines that is absolutely no secret. Take 1 second to look at the map and see that little mitten floating around on the water. The state of Michigan has more than 3,200 miles of shoreline. Ohio has about 312 miles of shoreline, which is Lake Erie, one of Michigan's Great Lakes, if you didn't know. In Michigan, you're always within a short driving distance to one of the state's many lakes and ponds. Each city provides its own unique culture and community, and on top of that, we have what is honestly a separate state altogether, the Upper Peninsula, which further expands on the greatness of Michigan's scenery. The next point I want to touch on is the job markets. In this example, I'll compare Ann Arbor's job market with Cincinnati's job market. Statistically, they are pretty similar, so it just makes sense. Bear with me. Taking a look at this graph provided by bestplaces.net, you can see how the current unemployment rate in Ann Arbor is 3.5%, whereas in Cincinnati, it's 4.9%. The two statistics that stick out the most are the future job growth and the 10-year job growth. In Ann Arbor, there's about a 9% difference in future job growth and a 4% difference in the 10-year job growth. The reason I wanted to focus on longevity is with the pandemic smacking around our economy, driving prices, creating shortages, and hesitation with an unknown virus, there's a little bit of resettling that needs to happen, for lack of a better term. As far as median household income, Michigan averages just over $59,000, while Ohio is just over $58,000. So they are very similar when it comes to household income and income per capita. Another notable factor is the cost of living and real estate. And the interesting thing about this is Ohio and Michigan real estate prices are a seesaw in comparison, meaning you'll save money in one area but spend it in the next, as it depends on the area. Urban Michigan is more expensive than rural Ohio, but urban Ohio is more expensive than rural Michigan. So before you take a look at just one article and decide your fate, really just take a second and figure out where you want to go within the state. Just like Ohio, Michigan has a massive range in affordability. Your budget could be just fine in one spot, but 5 miles down the road, you'd have to double it. In terms of averages, Michigan has an average home price of over $208,000, whereas Ohio is about $205,000. So again, very similar in that regard, and that's where you want to make sure you acknowledge that seesaw and understand what areas you can stretch your dollar more than others. Jumping on over to another reason to make the move to Michigan, and that's schools. Of course, Ohio has the Ohio State University, University of Cincinnati, and Case Western Reserve University. But Michigan, there's of course the University of Michigan, Michigan State University, and Michigan Tech. These universities may seem similar in comparison, but according to the U.S. News and World Report, which ranks 268 public and private four-year colleges, Michigan ranked 29th on the list, whereas Ohio was ranked 54th. According to U.S. News Top 50 National Public Universities, Michigan ranked number 4 and Ohio ranked 18. Money Magazine also ranked these two states for best value and put Michigan in at 22nd and Ohio at 144th. And last but not least, Kiplinger.com also created a list for best value and ranked Michigan 6th, while Ohio ranked 26th, according to an article written by Cleveland.com. Granted, those rankings were a few years ago, but they still hold true today. Just to create a larger perspective here, I'll compare U of M to Ohio State University. Sorry, the Ohio State University. According to the U.S. Department of Education, U of M's graduation rate is 10% higher. Graduates earn on average $23,000 more per year, and students of U of M graduate with around $1,400 lower median federal student loan debt. I know these rankings and statistics aren't the most entertaining thing in the world, but they are factual and provide valuable insight to each one of these states and their schools. When you're in the process of finding a school, I'm sure these stats aren't a priority, and if they are, give yourself a pat on the back, but the majority of the time it's about who accepts you, what school has the degree you want, and of course where your friends may or may not be going. If you're out of school already, then keep this in mind for the next generation. The last thing I want to touch on is the moving costs. If you're truly on the fence about making the move to Michigan from Ohio or any nearby state for that matter, keep in mind the average cost to move is just over $2,600. This would consist of utilizing a moving company entirely, not just renting a U-Haul and doing it all yourself. Of course, this amount depends on the number of belongings in your studio apartment versus your 2,000 square foot home. In terms of a U-Haul, let's say you're moving from Cincinnati to Detroit, which is about 260 to 300 miles depending on the route you take. Renting a 20-foot U-Haul for up to 2 days and 312 miles, you'd pay a total of $302. $248 for the truck itself, and the rest is damage coverage. If you're wanting to have additional help, it would be around $100 to $150 an hour for 2 helpers for 3 hours. Multiply that by 2 and you have help in both states. That sums up why you should consider making the move from Ohio to Michigan. If you got some value from this video, please give it a big ol' thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and tap the little bell so you never miss out on an upload. I look forward to seeing everyone next time.